Welcome to the Note to Self podcast. I'm your host, Zoe Ariel, an adventurous entrepreneur who loves to make the most out of life. I'm a certified professional life coach, digital course creator, verified YouTuber, and published author. On this podcast, you can expect actionable tips, reflections, and inspiration to live your best, most fulfilling life. So, let's get started. Hello, angels. Welcome back to another episode of Note to Self. I am so excited to be back here speaking with you today because I'm sharing a very recent lesson or realization that I've come to in my own life. It's something that I actually just navigated this past weekend. So at the time of recording this, it's very fresh for me, but it's big because it's been something that has circulated in my field before, but I really feel like now was the time that I chose to honor and integrate this new awareness and this new lesson to the deepest of levels, the depth that it needed to be. And that is that sometimes life can feel messy when we're healing things, when things are becoming uprooted, when we're growing, when we're transforming, when we are the caterpillar that's still in the chrysalis. Life can have this sort of feeling like it's messy or it's all a mess. But what I want to tell you about that is that you are not a mess. That there is nothing wrong with you when life feels like it's moving through one of these cycles full of death, rebirth, and transformation. And in that, I've shared before about how our words are so incredibly powerful. Instead of even using the word messy, I'm decided that I'm just going to use the word flowy or flowing. And I'm going to give some context to what I'm speaking to you about here through a story. So over this past weekend, I went to Amed in Bali. So this is East Bali, and I went here on a holiday with my parents. My parents have officially arrived in Bali, and they are scuba divers. So we went up to Amed. That's a great place for scuba diving. I myself don't scuba dive. That's a story for another time. Those of you who may have read Beauty and the Breakdown know that I was in a plane accident. So my ears don't actually equalize properly, which is kind of why I can't really go underwater really deep, even though I absolutely love the water. I snorkeled on the surface and had an abundant time. But when we first arrived there, I'd never been to Amed in Bali, and I did have a bit of work to do that afternoon, evening when we did arrive. I was planning on uploading the latest module for the Digital Nomad Academy, and there was some things that I had to send to my business partner, Lauren. And there was great Wi-Fi connection, but not any upload speed or capacity. And so I was actually unable to upload the things that I intended to upload. And I definitely have perfectionism tendencies that I still work through. Like when I have a schedule for myself, especially my work, which I'm highly committed to being of service, it does trigger me when I find myself in these situations where I cannot fulfill what I've intended to fulfill, and I feel blocked. Technical difficulties, they really trigger Scorpio, my shadow self. I'm going to share more about her in another episode. So I get very triggered and activated when I cannot be integral in that way, because my business is something that, and my clients are people or souls, these beautiful soulmate human beings who I absolutely love to deliver my services for, my gifts for. And so I was definitely triggered when this happened. But what I found was like I was triggered, but it wasn't even about the technical difficulties. And how I know this is because the day prior, I had a deep bodywork session with my healer, Shelly, and my one-on-one breathwork coach, Alex, here in Bali, like deep in-person sessions to release trauma from my body. And sometimes what happens is the next day, I'm still clearing out residual. It's natural that when we do deep healing in our bodies that we kind of have to keep excavating things or have like a release of emotions still happening in order to completely remove the patterns or the trauma that we'd worked towards. So I was feeling super emotional all day. I had tapped, I had meditated, I had moved my body, I used the tools basically that I had known to do. But sometimes it just doesn't feel like enough almost. Like sometimes We just need to be with our emotions. And what I find is that in the past, when I have had to be with my emotions, it's hard for me to hold space for what I perceive to be a mess. There definitely has been a part of Zoe, that perfectionism side, that feels like emotions are messy. When they're not ideal, they can be messy, they're complicated. But now, as I'm speaking into that, I want to replace them with flowy. Emotions are flowy because emotions are energy in motion. They are all beautiful. There's an array of them. And I know that when we're in the uncomfortable ones, it can be so easy for us to fall into that place of judgment, of wanting to change our emotions, of wanting to change our circumstances. But in just being with our emotions, that's actually where we uncover the treasures, the gems, as to what's really actually being triggered. Because on the surface, right, if we were just look at this, and I'm going to really be very honest and vulnerable with you guys, like I cried. I was crying. I didn't know what to do. My module that I was trying to upload took I basically spent 2 hours sitting beside the computer and having it upload to 23%. And then it disconnected and then went back to 0. And, I've been in situations like this before. Living in Rome, Italy, I would have to leave my laptop out overnight to upload a 6-minute YouTube video. I've been there before. So I know it's just technical stuff, but what was occurring in my body and in my being was feeling deeply unsupported, feeling so unsupported, feeling so exhausted about running multiple businesses on my own. That's really what's kind of coming to the surface for me. In my life, what's on my heart as my top desire right now is for a romantic partnership, is to call in my divine king, the divine masculine, to hold space for me and just hold me energetically so that I don't have to feel like I'm doing everything all by myself and muscling my way through life. I mean, I love creating content. I love creating my businesses, but there's a part of it where I do hit this point of exhaustion because I'm holding both the masculine and the feminine, when there's a really strong desire in me to just surrender to the feminine. And this is what's happening, because as I have been surrendering to the feminine, I can no longer contain my emotions. So imagine, I'm going to paint this picture for you. I'm sitting outside the suite that we were staying in on the balcony, and I'm reading my Kindle. Beside me on the side table is my laptop, and it's not moving. It's snail pace. I waited 2 hours. I'm reading a book, and this story, right? The story of being alone, the story of doing it all by myself, the story of being unsupported by God's source universe and being withheld love and, feeling like I'm always going to be alone. All of that was what was at the surface. So I was just crying. I wasn't audibly crying, but there was streams of tears going down my face. And it's to the point now where, like I said, I cannot contain it. My parents are there. My dad's sitting there. He's has no idea what to do, trying to make it better, trying to Google coffee shops to go upload my video. But really, it's not about uploading the module at this point. It's just everything that's going on in my internal world. And I was sitting there crying on my Kindle, laptop beside me. And I'm I can't hold it in. And all of this feels messy. And then I caught myself because I realized it's not messy, because messy to me implies that I need to clean it up. Messy implies to me that it's not okay. Messy implies to me that it's disorganized or dysfunctional. And that's not the case. The case is what's just happening is that I am breaking open. My heart is opening up, and the stories and the trauma and the things that need to be released in order for me to surrender into the divine masculine and fully call this being into my life. That's what's happening, right? I am not a mess. I am not messy. I am just flowing, and I am allowing the things that have been holding me back to flow through me and flow out of me so that I can create space for that of which I desire. So I wanted to share this story with you guys because sometimes our triggers, they're not actually what's there for us, right? There's a multitude of things that I shared with you that I've learned, and that's, what comes after body work, and that's what's required to create space for the things that we desire. But also just emotions are something that we're all always going to experience. And in my journey, what I found is that the more safety that I've established within my body, the more that I get to be Zoe. And the more that I'm just okay with being Zoe, and the more that I can't really like shut off Zoe. And it's this beautiful, uninhibited force of nature that sort of emerges through me, and that keeps emerging through me. I know that that is my higher self coming through, of like, we don't have time to judge ourselves, hold in our emotions, suppress anything anymore, because we know the trauma. We know the damage that happens to our body when we suppress things. So it's never messy. I feel like someone needs to hear this message today, is that it's never messy and you're not a mess. It's just flowing, and it's all flowy, and you're flowy because you're the divine feminine or the divine masculine, whichever you resonate with. We are on this journey as human beings, just flowing through life, doing our best to allow ourselves to be everything that we came here to be. I love you so, so much, and I would love to invite you into Opulence. So Opulence is my signature money program where we actually really dive deep into the body. We do body work to clear our channel for financial abundance. We also do the mindset work, of course, but as you guys are probably recognizing, you cannot mind your way to wealth. You cannot mind your way to the things that you're desiring to create anymore. That's not the way that the world is operating anymore. That's not the way that the energies in our world are working anymore. And that's because it requires you to connect with your body, unite mind, body, and spirit to manifest in that way, to create space for your desires in that way. So Opulence is on special right now for the month of November, because I am going to be opening up the next live container in January. So I wanted to give those of you a heads up who are ready and willing to drop the money struggle, to heal your relationship with money, and to create space for wealth and abundance in 2023. The heads up and the opportunity to get started on that work right away. I would love to see you inside, and the next live round in January is going to be so exciting. Those of you who are already in Opulence, I cannot wait to hear about how the journey has unfolded since our first round, and also what's to come in the next one. There's going to be lots of new supportive content and bonuses coming in the new year. So get in now before the price rises, and I can't wait to see you inside, stepping into new levels of wealth and clearing your body, clearing your energetic channel of everything that's holding you back from living your most abundant life. Thanks for listening to Note to Self. If you enjoyed this episode, please help me out by rating and reviewing this show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If my energy is resonating with you and you feel the call to work with me, there are an abundance of ways to do so. I offer one-to-one life coaching programs, mastermind containers, and DIY courses, all of which are available through my website, zoeariel.co. Until next time, take note of all the abundance that surrounds you as you make the most of this game called life.